Kyle Shanahan speaks on the sideline altercation between Deebo Samuel and long snapper Tabor Pepper, says it's squashed. And how about a pair of rookies leading the San Francisco 49ers PFF grades this week at Tampa? Strong rookie class. More on that on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love and appreciate all of our everydayers out there. And welcome to the new listeners as well, hanging out with daily talking San Francisco 49ers here at Locked On. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Football GM. Use promo code Locked On NFL, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your Ultimate GM franchise. Make sure you get it because this perk will help jumpstart your dynasty and get your play, give you the advantage to create your probably San Francisco dynasty. Let's be honest, on Ultimate Pro Football GM. All right, Croc. I want to start today with Kyle Shanahan speaking on the game, speaking on the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, he addressed the questions about the sideline altercation between Deebo Samuel and Tabor Pepper. And I've seen a few people like this happened yesterday with the Deebo Samuel stuff post game, right? You see different tweets and even different, respected journalists, and paraphrasing what Deebo said made it seem different than when I listened to Deebo Samuel and listened to him speak about it. And what Deebo said about it post game was that it was kind of he got out of character for himself. So he did kind of blame himself a little bit when asked if he thought it was potentially he helped the last field goal go through the uprights. He's like, no, that's on them. Got it figured out. And then Kyle Shanahan spoke about it on Monday. And he said it was, I want to get the quote correct. He said it was, quote, a little bit of an overreaction. And some people heard that as it was an overreaction by Tabor Pepper to what Deebo Samuel did. Some people say that Kyle Shanahan said it was an overreaction by the media to what happened on the sideline. So I'm still not sure if he's blaming Pepper for overreacting to what Deebo did. If it was an overreaction by Deebo, it was an overreaction by everybody else watching this happen and watching teammates fighting on the sideline. But basically he said that all Deebo said was he told Moody to lock in like he would any other player that quote unquote you believe in. So it wasn't Deebo talking down to Moody. It was him just trying to hype him up, telling him to lock in like any other player. And maybe Tabor Pepper took offense to that. But he also went on to say, Kyle Shanahan did, that quote, I like Pep's intentions on it. I mean, he's got his kickers back. And so basically he said it's squashed and they've taken care of it. And so it's all done, whatever. Whoever's to blame, it's all over with. Their teammates and everybody's good. But it brings up questions about, and I know the fan base because I'm looking at the YouTube comments. I'm looking at where we're getting tagged on Twitter, Croc, and people want Moody cut. They want the special teams coach fired. And so clearly it's seeped into the psyche of 49ers fans, and they've watched 10 weeks of the 49ers, or 9 games now in 10 weeks of the special teams screwing up way too often. What's odd is when they played the Dallas Cowboys, who had the highest graded special teams in the NFL, they played better on special teams than the Cowboys did that week. But every other week, it felt like they've screwed something up, whether it's a muff or a missed kick or a coverage unit or whatever it is. So overall, Croc, when you hear Kyle Shanahan talk about it, when you see what went on the field, when you feel it as you watch these games as both a fan and covering the team, Croc, it feels like, and I know the fans feel this way, it's crept into their psyche. They're not believers in the special teams right now. There's no confidence there. But what worries me is that there's not a lot of confidence in the special teams inside the building, inside the locker room, whether it's coaches or other fellow players. And that's probably not a great thing.
Yeah, no, there's a lot going on right now. And I think it's really more so. You talk about the Deebo Samuel thing and some of Kyle Shanahan's comments. I think it has more to do with just not the pressure, but sense of urgency that people have. And when I looked at what Deebo did, and you hear what Deebo said, and you hear what Kyle Shanahan said, saying, hey, Deebo is basically just telling him, hey, man, lock in. He probably said it a very different way. I don't think if he just walked by and was like, hey, Moody, lock in, man, that Tabor Pepper would have took offense to it. He probably said it in a different way to where Pepper felt like he had to have his buddies back. And you got to understand, especially with these special teamers or specialists on special teams, the kicker, the snapper, all they do is hang out with each other. Like Tabor Pepper has no other job on this team but to snap the ball to potentially a punter or a kicker. So they just hang around practice all day. So they're probably best buds. They're probably really cool. And it's like, okay, I got to have these guys back. But no, I think a lot of fans are on Deebo's side because not that you should put your hands on another person. I think it was fairly mild for what I'm used to kind of seeing. In one thing people have to understand, like football is it's kind of this different world. And it almost has like it's like these kind of different sets of rules that don't truly take place in society, right? Like in society, you push somebody, you shove somebody, however they respond or whatever, like there's these serious intentions. It's probably bad, and there's huge ramifications from it. In the sports world, especially with teammates, and I'm not saying there's levels to it, right? There's Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. That's excessive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's excessive. But a little shove, arguments, back and forth, maybe even cussing each other out, whatever it is that happens sometimes on the sideline in the heat of moments, those things happen. And guess what? Guys get over it. It's not these like grudges being, oh man, I can't believe Deebo told me to lock in. I hate him. I'm never talking to him again. Like, nah, man, like
right.
Hey, I just, hey, emotions got the best of me right there. Hey, man, we're good. Yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it, Deebo. Like, they're good. I can promise you, because I've seen it. Now, there are times where teammates truly do not like each other, but typically it's more because of like personal things that have happened as opposed to something in the heat of a moment in a game where everybody understands. So I think Kyle was saying maybe media overblew it because it was something that went viral. I was seeing it everywhere. Everybody's talking about what Deebo did. And I've seen a lot worse between two teammates in person and obviously videos that circulate.
What do you do as a coach yourself, Croc? And I know you coach high school kids, so it's different than the grown men in the NFL.
They get into it. I had kids last year. They went into the locker room and boxed out whatever their issues were. And, we still had to talk to them and scold them and whatnot. Hey, you guys are teammates. Don't do those things. And that was even further. Like they took it further than Deebo and Moody.
Yeah.
I've had that happen with guys, and it's like, hey man, keep your hands to yourself, and that's it. And guess what? They're fine after that. So, even as a coach, I don't think there's like these huge disciplinary actions that you have to take. But most normal civilians don't truly understand that. Like they don't. Yeah. If you've never been in a locker room, real quick story. One of our coaches at Edison High School had got fired, and the principal was standing there on the sideline, did not like how he heard the coach talking to a player. And when you're talking to the principal and we're trying to explain this, certain things to him, and he basically says, if you can't talk like that to a kid in the classroom, you can't talk like that to him on the field. And I'm not justifying it, but it is hard for people that don't play football to understand how you communicate. Now, maybe we could do a better job of that, but I feel like that's going along with everything else in the world where everybody just hella soft. So I don't know.
You probably sat there and thought to yourself, man, if he only heard what else is really said.
Oh, 100%. Oh, glad he didn't catch me.
Well, dude, and look, you think about like what's allowed on a hockey. Perfect example. You get on the rink, it's different. Like, it's like, oh, you try to take that dude's head off, you got to sit in a box for 5 minutes. They
fight, knock each other's teeth out, and then they get back in the game.
Like, oh, we got to let them fight a little bit. Okay, one guy's not fighting back. They go to the ground. All right, now we split them up after they've already dropped gloves and thrown punches. So yeah, different set of rules when it comes to sports and society for sure. And this pretty mild. And if the players are cool with it and they squashed it, that's what's important. You don't want stuff to linger, but to me, it's just an overall like probably lack of trust right now potentially.
That's not the stuff that really hurts a team. Like what would hurt a team, like sleeping with a teammate's girl or something. Like those things happen.
If I'm
And
not
that's when
mistaken,
it's
you go back about a decade, and Niners went through that as well, didn't they? Yeah.
those are the things that are very divisive, can really cause like big hatred. A fight can be much more serious. But certain things that happen in the heat of moments, I promise you, these dudes, they get over it so fast.
Next, how to fix the special teams. Can the 49ers fix what ails them on special teams? PFF grades a pair of rookies leading the way for both offense and defense this week for the San Francisco 49ers. And looking up at the NFC and that team over there in the AFC, Lions and Chiefs, seems like right now they cannot lose. Can the 49ers be the team that ends up beating one or both of those teams this year? We'll get to all of that next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Football GM. Remember our great partners at Ultimate Football GM? Well, yeah, they're back, and they have added an amazing new game mode I need to tell you about, the game that has you step into the shoes of a football franchise GM and lead them to glory. Well, now there's a new head coach career mode for Ultimate Pro Football GM. So on top of getting to build your dynasty by drafting players, signing free agents, and hiring a coaching staff, now you get to act as that coaching staff that you hire. Call offensive plays during games as well. Additionally, you'll dig all the new tools to work with, such as individual training camps and upgraded negotiation systems. So this fun and realistic game just got a lot better. If you've already installed it, be sure to make the update happen so you can try out the new mode in Ultimate Pro Football GM. If you haven't tried it yet, you got to download the game right now. It's completely free, no ads, and 100% playable offline. Play on the go as you want to and when you want to. And a special offer for our Locked On listeners: use promo code Locked On NFL, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your franchise. And you got to make sure you get it so you can jumpstart that dynasty. To download the game, visit ultimate-gm.com. That is ultimate-gm.com, or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Pro Football GM. Start your dynasty today. The next segment of Locked On 49ers is sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this season, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you go check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets at FanDuel.com or on the app. And you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just go to FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So we've got a ton of comments like this. I'm just going to go to one comment on YouTube, Croc, about the 49ers special teams. And this one's from Mike. And he says, these repeated boneheaded breakdowns on teams is the responsibility of the coordinator. This has been happening too long for there to be any other solution than replacing that coach. We have two defensive coordinators, one who isn't ready. Let Sorensen take over the teams. Maybe he can keep the special teamers from brawling on the sidelines. Bad look for Deebo. Some people confuse high energy with leadership and so on. So a lot of comments like that. How do you fix the 49ers special teams, Croc? You start firing people. You start cutting your third-round kicker in Jake Moody after he misses 3 kicks. You fire the special teams coordinator, and you take your defensive coordinator, make him coach the special teams, then bring Brandon Staley out of the booth to coach the defense, is what Mike is getting at here. I think that's going a little too far, and now you're changing 2 guys' jobs in the building. But is there a fix, and do you think drastic measures are needed for the 49ers on special teams?
You know, we talked about the kind of the mush by Deebo Samuel to Tabor Pepper and how that wasn't that big of a deal and people would get over it. They will not be able to get over this poor special teams unit that has been very up and down, and more down than up throughout this year, whether it's being able to rely on them for extra points. They've missed several of those. Field goals, there's one to potentially win a game. You miss it. Yesterday, 3 field goals, and even the one that goes in, I mean, it goes in by the skin of the teeth. I mean, dang near grazed the pole. The 49ers special teams unit has, muffed multiple punts. Things like yesterday where guys run into each other, it just looks like a mess. And the way you fix all that, heads got to roll. That is the only thing. You have to bring somebody in that will have a slightly different philosophy than whoever is the head guy right now. I think everybody that coaches has their ideas of what they would do. But hey, this is the coordinator. It's his job. This is what he does. Okay, that's what we're going to do, and that's what the game plan is. But the moment you get that person out of there, you might get somebody that has fresh thoughts and says, hey, I think we should tweak it this way. I think we should do this slightly different here, and this will make us, a little bit better. And at some point, you have to make that decision. So I kind of waiting at this time, see when Kyle does it. I don't know if he's going to make a move like that midseason, but something definitely has to happen.
The 49ers have made one move on special teams, and they have brought in a special teams. I don't want to call him special teams ace because he was available in free agency and was cut by the New York Giants. But Nick McLeod is a guy who's played a lot of special teams in his career. He is 26 years old. He was released by the New York Giants, and he's been, a guy who plays cornerback, so he plays on defense as well, but he's played a ton of snaps on special teams. And that's probably, I'm guessing, why after what we saw, especially with Darrell Luter, and I wouldn't be shocked at all of a Darrell Luter demotion right now on special teams after, letting the ball hit him in the foot in the Super Bowl, and now seeing what happened last week. And it's a play that can really ruin a game for you. And so you can't do nothing is what I'm getting at for the 49ers. They've done a little something here. I think the Nick McLeod move is because of Darrell Luter. Potentially there's something else the 49ers can do. I don't know. And mid-season firing the special teams coordinator, I don't know if that's the thing. There's not a kicker on the street that I would feel more comfortable with kicking than Jake Moody either. And Jake Moody's been okay as the 49ers kicker for the last year and a half, and he just came off the injured list too. So I don't know how much that injury is hurting him. And I don't know the kicking game enough to be like, oh, he's got to do this better, He missed left, and I think he overcorrected and missed right, and almost missed the game winner too. That one just kind of snuck in instead of fading on the wrong side of the uprights. I don't know what the fix is, but I do think mid-season probably firing your special teams coordinator, making a huge change at kicker is probably not the way to go. I think they've made their bed there, and you got to revisit those things in the offseason.
I think where they made their bed was just drafting the kicker in the third round to begin with.
Right.
We see time and time again, kickers, there's not a huge difference in a kicker on the street and a kicker on a team. There's just not, and we've seen that. I mean, year after year with the 49ers, a kicker goes down. He's hurt for a few weeks. Somebody steps in, does well. Did bite them in the butt 2019 against the Seahawks. I want to say in overtime where the McLaughlin guy just shanked it so bad to the left. But he's been in the NFL ever since. And maybe that was just like a terrible moment for him, But he's kicking. I saw him kicking on Sunday. You look around the league, and there's not a huge difference between kickers. It just matters, hey, how is their swing at that time? And if that leg is swinging good, then they're good. There are difference makers, and I'd say like the Cowboys have one with Aubrey or whatever his name is. I mean, he's kicking 67-yard field goals. That's different. You got one of those? Okay, I get it. But they got him off the street. He was a guy that came from another league, and then he was just a free agent. The Cowboys were like, well, let's just bring this guy in. And he's like, wow, he got the biggest leg in kick in history between him and probably Janikowski. Tucker was really good for a lot of years, but if you watch the Baltimore Ravens right now, Justin Tucker's not himself. This is a guy that has missed several kicks, and did he just all of a sudden forget how to kick? No, but sometimes that swing starts to get off, and his right now, he's trying to find it. So, yeah, I know, like you said, maybe you can't make a move mid-season, but man, I think the issue was drafting him third round to begin with, unless he's just a special talent, which it's not. It's really not.
It's hard to cut ties with someone that you spend a third round pick on. So you're going to get extra chances if you're Jake Moody. And look, it was bad seeing him miss 3 kicks, but prior to this, he's missed some kicks, missed an extra point in the Super Bowl, right? But he hasn't been an awful kicker necessarily. But my whole thing with drafting the third round kickers is just that's not where teams find their kickers. And you talked about Brandon Aubrey. He was a soccer guy. He was playing in the XFL or whatever, USFL, whatever one of those leagues he was playing in, right? While the 49ers were drafting Jake Moody, Cowboys went and found the best kicker that was available, and he was just over there in that AFL. I don't even remember what league it is. What do you call the league that he was in? I'm still confused by all those extra football leagues that are happening in the spring right now. And Justin Tucker, guess what? He wasn't drafted. Most of these kickers, you talk about McLaughlin, most of these kickers aren't good until they're in their 30s either. It's just like, you don't just it's not how teams find their kickers. It's drafting a kicker high. And, Janikowski was, one of the few. And that was probably a kind of a weird pick. And it was a weird pick at the time. People freaked out when drafted Janikowski in the first round. That's not how teams find their kickers. Usually kickers are in their 30s, in their prime, and they've already bounced off of teams. Like, that's just how teams find their kickers.
I mean, that's how the 49ers have found their kickers. And I feel like when you think back on like Joe Nedney and Akers and some of these guys, like they were good for the 49ers. Robbie Gold, he was really good for the 49ers.
And he wasn't drafted and bounced around a bunch of teams in the league until he finally caught on. So that's that. Let's talk no more about special teams. Real quick update from Kyle Shanahan on the injury front. He said Renardo Green has a toe injury, will be day-to-day. George Kittle, hamstring irritation. They're going to check back on him later in the week. And Mitch Wishnowsky's back had a little bit of a flare-up. So those are the injury updates from 49ers at Tampa. And he also said that they do not expect to open the practice window this week for linebacker Dre Greenlaw. Not quite to that point yet for Dre Greenlaw. So at least one more week before we see Dre Greenlaw practicing with the San Francisco 49ers. Mentioned Renardo Green in that toe injury. He's been good for the 49ers. The entire rookie class has been good for the 49ers. Let's get into it, especially the PFF grades where Renardo Green was the highest graded defender on the team and a rookie offensive player was the highest graded offender on the team. We'll get to those next. The final segment of today's edition of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Game Time, and Game Time has a new feature to help you get tickets. It's called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, especially if you're going to go see a football game, right? Thousands of tickets potentially available. Hone that in with Game Time Picks. And all-in pricing, you toggle on the all-in pricing feature, which I always do. I love this feature. No surprise fees at checkout. You get your panoramic views from your seat so you know exactly what you're going to get in the app before you buy and show up to your event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Get some fantastic last-minute ticket deals as well. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Renardo Green, Croc, we did a little bit of a film dive into Renardo Green last week, it was at the beginning of the bye week, right? When we talked to Renardo Green, and it was fun to hear your take as a coach, as a former cornerback on Renardo Green, and he's been phenomenal since being drafted in the second round by the San Francisco 49ers and was the highest graded, not just rookie, but player on the 49ers defense this week with an 82.6 grade and the highest coverage grade by far for the San Francisco 49ers. He was targeted 5 times. He allowed 4 catches and had a couple of pass breakups as well, did Renardo Green. And he's just been phenomenal. So shout out to Renardo Green. And Croc, on the other side of the ball, Dominic Puny, the number 1 graded offensive player on the San Francisco 49ers. It's been really cool to see Dominic Puny take on different players, different sizes. And when you got a guy like Vita Vea and then next to him, Kalijah Kancey, and those 2 players couldn't be different, but to see him get some movement and to go toe-to-toe with a 350-pound defensive tackle like Vita Vea, that was fun to watch and come out unscathed, Dominic Puny. And the best player on the team, according to Pro Football Focus, was single game grades. Good against the pass and the run was Dominic Puny. So phenomenal from the rookie class.
The rookie class has continued to be awesome. And you talk about Renardo Green, man. I mean, playing very well. Targeted 5 times in the game, allowed 27 yards. Like, I'll take that. You're talking about a rookie that's been out there, and each week he's been performing well. Then targeted 5 times, he gives up 27 yards. Give me that. 2 forced incompletions, 2 forced pass breakups. I mean, just terrific stuff. And cornerback is one of the harder positions to make that transition from college to the pros because they throw so much at you. But even with them throwing a lot at this guy and cross-training him, hey, learn how to play nickel, learn how to do these different things. He's been terrific. And what a gem for the 49ers. I think there was a guy at the time, you and I both would have been like, hey, man, draft this offensive tackle, solidify that offensive line, that turned around, drafted Dominic Puny. But Renardo Green has been very, very good for the 49ers.
And you do have to wonder, I wonder if Puny could kick out and end up being a starting tackle if the 49ers feel like they've got better coverage, whether it's continuing in free agency with cheaper options inside than outside or throughout the draft or guys who are already on the team. I wonder if the answer at tackle or maybe even left tackle once Trent Williams moves on. Maybe Dominic Puny's got more in him than just being an awesome guard, because right now he's been phenomenal at guard. And I don't know if you want to mess with the good thing necessarily, but he played a lot of tackle in college too. So maybe this is year one of a career like Joe Staley, where he bounced around originally. And I think he played guard or right tackle as a rookie before bouncing over the other side to left tackle. I think he was right tackle as a rookie, then went to left tackle, Joe Staley. But it could be a situation like that for Dominic Puny, potentially.
And that would be huge for the 49ers. Now, again, you still have a good value for him at the guard position. But if he is a guy that's able to bounce outside and play as well at the tackle position as he's done at the guard, like just give us that would be a huge win for the 49ers.
How about this? Of defensive players that played at least a dozen snaps in the game, the second highest graded 49er, another rookie, safety Malik Mustafa, who didn't miss tackles in this game, 0 missed tackles. He was thumping people. I mean, you can hear it on the broadcast when Malik Mustafa arrives. I don't even have to look and see if it's number 6 anymore, Croc. When I see the play end a certain way and I hear it, I was like, oh, there's Malik Mustafa. And then you see everybody get up and you're like, there it is, number 6. I know by the sound of Malik Mustafa. I don't have to see his jersey number anymore.
Now, dude's a missile, and he's been like that since the first time we watched him play in the preseason. Again, the terrific draft class by the 49ers, but guys that are just good football players. And they were older. And you and I were talking about, well, you're drafting all these older guys, 24, 25 years old, every single one of them. These aren't guys that are supposed to be just sitting and, needs a little development. Save that for the 20-year-old, 21-year-old guys. These 24-year-old guys need to get out there and play well. And that's exactly what they're doing. You're getting big-time production out of these guys. Contributing to win. That's the biggest, one of the things that helps them the most. Like, are you contributing to the 49ers winning football games? And right now at 5-4, this is kind of that stretch where they start to kind of get in kind of that full swing, get in the groove of things and start winning games. And if you have 3-4 rookies that are contributing, right? You got Pearsall, you got Renardo Green, you got Mustafa, you got Dominic Puny, maybe even, Kyle doesn't use a bunch of running backs, and I didn't expect running backs to get a bunch of carries outside of Christian McCaffrey yesterday, but you got a rookie back there with Garindo. Just terrific step out of the Niners to be able to put these guys in positions for them to be as successful as they can be.
I was going to bring up running backs too, so I'm glad you did, because what did we put the over under? 1.5 carries for Jordan Mason once Christian McCaffrey comes back? 1 carry. One carry. I think 3 snaps in the game for Jordan Mason, and then Garindo got 1 carry as well for the 49ers.
That's crazy.
So that answers that question. And Kyle Shanahan's a one-back kind of guy. Kyle puts a ring on his running backs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A couple of other stats here from the game.
Real quick. You go back years before he got to the 49ers, it seemed like Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman, he was going to try to do that again. And now with the 49ers, anytime he finds a guy that he feels comfortable giving him the ball 15 plus times, like that guy is going to be the factor back. And anybody else you have, they're just not going to get a lot of touches.
How about this? Brock Purdy, only the 3rd time in franchise history has 5 players had 50 plus receiving yards. And so Jennings, McCaffrey, Deebo, Ricky Pearsall, and George Kittle all had more than 50 yards receiving. It's only the 3rd time in franchise history that's happened for the 49ers. So really cool to see Brock Purdy facilitate all of his receivers. And they were all so similar in the stat book at the end of the game. And this one from Brewdog Tecmo hit me up on Twitter. So shout out to him. And I love this stat as well, kind of showing where the 49ers are right now, because the record, and I always talk about how the Niners, a couple plays go the other way. And we're talking a lot different about the 49ers team right now. If it's, 7-2 instead of 5-4 record, the 2024 49ers have the 5th highest yards per play differential since 1991 at 1.44 yards per play differential. So Niners yards per play offensively and defensively are beating up teams. So they're not able to finish teams. They're stalling out in the red zone. Their special teams has been weird, and there's been some reasons why they've been on the wrong side of the scoreboard, but they're a better team than what they've shown on the scoreboard, I think. And I think that illustrates it. You still got to go win the games. And that brings me to the last thing I wanted to talk about here. And we can tease this maybe a little bit for tomorrow and Weeky Wednesday is like the Chiefs are just trolling us at this point, right? Like, oh, we're about to lose to the Broncos. Nope, just kidding. Blocked field goal, blocked game-winning field goal, and they end up beating the Broncos 16-14. And Chief Safety's out on Twitter saying, hey, everybody, send me those videos of the Broncos fans freaking out after we blocked that kick. And there's just like reply after reply of videos of Broncos fans losing their minds, seeing the game-winning field goal. And that wasn't even close. Like, they just got destroyed up front. There was like 3 guys that blocked.
Like 3-4 guys just bust right through the middle.
Unbelievable. And the Chiefs keep doing it every single week. They never cover the number. They're just like kind of limp their way into a victory, yet they're 9-0. And Goff throws 5 interceptions, and the Lions can't lose either.
Oh, man, CJ Stroud, it hasn't been a great season for him. And for anybody that still wants to kind of defend what he is at the NFL level, and, he's a young quarterback, but to see your defense get 5 interceptions and you still lose, absolutely unacceptable. I just absolutely, it just can't happen. And it did. I don't even think the Texans scored in the second half.
No, they didn't. They had like 40 yards in the second half or something like that. They couldn't run the ball either. And not being able to run the ball at all and not be able to shorten the game, and then turnovers on top of it. That's the recipe to lose a game that you're up that big in. It's exactly what happened. So it does feel like there's some imminent end of season Lions, Chiefs mojo right now. We'll see. Can the Niners end either of those runs this season? The Niners are going to have to start coming up with some magic and stop trying to give away games and actually do it the other way and start winning games, even the ones that they shouldn't be losing. Instead of losing the games, the ones they should be winning. More on that subject and a whole lot more going on with the San Francisco 49ers on tomorrow's episode and every single day here on Locked On 49ers. Make sure you hang out with me and Croc at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Any questions, topics you want us to cover, always hit us up. Let us know on Twitter or on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe while you're there. Croc and I back tomorrow. Locked On 49ers.